now joined in the studio by our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, to talk about the company's economic fallout from the saga and how its market share is doing. Xolani, let's talk about how Clix has actually historically been performing. They've been on quite a good positive spree lately, though.
No, absolutely. For the past 12 years, they've been #1 in the health and beauty and pharmaceutical stores around the country. They are well placed, in almost every corner, and they've done well. Investors love Clix. The returns are quite good. And if you look at their half-year results that were announced in April, you can see that the health and beauty products were up 9.3%, and they actually made, 16.9 billion rands, when it comes to turnover. And their earnings were quite good, even during the lockdown. So they've been doing quite well. They're a sure thing, some of the investors would say. And, those who pour money in it and invest in it, they know that, there's a lot of demand for some of the products that are there. But when we look at their recent, this morning particularly, how the share price actually reacted to this particular fallout, there has been, a muted reaction, really. We saw a half a percentage point drop in their share price, and it quickly recovered, and it stayed there throughout the morning rather. And although it's still early days, because we've heard that some of the Clix stores could actually be shut down for a week, it could be really the reputational damage could really lead to the financial damage to be quite huge. So it's something that is quite serious. Although they've been doing quite well, they employ thousands of people, and right now they are sitting on piles of cash of 2.3 billion rands that they want to expand their stores in the next 7 years to 900 stores around the country. That's how well they've been doing. So they've had the support of the public. Just this particular instance, and it seems they are acknowledging that indeed we did, we don't have diversity in our teams. We need to check with second-party, engagements. But this is just how deep it's going to be when it comes to the financial fallout will depend on how quickly they react in terms of their reputational damage.
The fact that there was only a 0.5% drop in the market share, and then that quickly rebounded again, what does that say? And at what point did it start to normalize? Was it before the court dismissed the application or afterwards? And would that matter to investors?
It matters to investors. This was when the markets opened. So when the markets opened, we saw it going quite down, and we thought that it was going to just keep going. But immediately, I would say even 30 minutes after, we saw that marginal fall, really small, something you can expect on any given day. We saw it actually stabilizing as well. It was before the court judgment, so there's a real belief. It tells us that investors really believe that, when it comes to Clix and this particular debacle, they will overcome it. But that's the investors. When it comes to consumers, it's still hanging in the air as to how the consumers are going to really respond, whether they are going to find other alternative means to actually say that we're going to shop elsewhere and take our money elsewhere, because this shows that you do not care about us.
And perhaps on that very point, should consumers decide to take their feet and to take their money elsewhere to alternative stores and thus boycott Clix, which has been a call that has been made in some quarters, how is that reaction by the consumers going to affect the investors, investor confidence, and what they choose to back their money on?
It will be huge, Tammy. It will be huge, and it all depends on how long this particular action goes on for, and how believable what the Clix board actually says. We saw a statement from the CEO saying that the board actually met, and they actually suspended 2 people. They think that they've done enough, but as you've seen on social media, others are saying that you can't be saying that you are sorry for one action and then go to court to actually defend yourselves when people actually are venting out and wanting accountability from you. So that's going to be quite huge, and it all depends on how long. I cannot stress that enough, how long the action goes for. If it goes on for months, which many investors, by the way the share price has performed, do not believe might actually go on for longer. We might see the expansion plans to actually expand the Clix stores to 900 in 7 years being put on hold. We might see shops closing down in various sectors. We might see a loss of jobs. They're absolutely right, but that all depends how long this particular action actually is going to last.
I'd like us to also look at the other parties involved in all of this, because in all truth, it is Tressemé, it is Unilever that were the originators of this particular campaign and the originators of this particular ad, and that was then passed on to Clix. How is this backlash affecting them, Unilever and Tressemé? Because a lot of the backlash seems to be at the door of Clix at this point.
The reaction so far is not where it emanates. And the reaction is, how did it get to where you accepted this proposal to put it from Unilever? And it came from, Tressemé products. I mean, they work with more than 40 hair products and producers. And, whatever they bring onto Clix, as a campaign, it does not have to get a green light from Clix. It doesn't, and this one should not have gone this far. So far we haven't seen, a lot of, flack going the way of Unilever and Tressemé. On Friday, when the story broke, they did issue a statement to say that we apologize for our actions. It was, we did not think it quite outright, but we haven't seen some bad reputational damage on their side. But, it just goes to show that, when some of these corporate South Africa, they are tone deaf when it comes to issues of race and diversity in this country, and it so happens to be Heritage Month. So it's not the first time that we have a company that is South African owned doing this. We've had H&M putting up those T-shirts with monkey black boy in them, which was in poor taste. And we had recently a food retailer, a fast food retailer, KFC, the Shisonga people who were on a show, and they said they are color blocking. That didn't go down well with some social media users and the public as well. So it just goes to show that there is a lot of work that needs to be done by corporate South Africa when it comes to the diversity of their teams, and making sure that when they speak, they they consider people's feelings, but they speak to everyone, not just a certain sector of the society.
But why is it taking so long, Xolani, and why do we need incidences of this nature to once again shine the spotlight on the lack of diversity and the lack of inclusivity of black professionals within corporate and even like the advertising space?
It's something that is a part of our lives as South Africa, in corporate South Africa, where we don't see that diversity even when there are outside PR teams that are used. Those PR teams really, one was saying on Instagram that they work in this particular space, and whenever they raise their voice, they are actually muzzled, as a person of color, a black person in that particular company. So it's not about a Clix issue only, or KFC issue and H&M. It's a corporate South Africa issue where we have not learned, even since 1994 when we attained democracy, we have not learned to actually be sensitive to differences that are there. It's something that is going to take a lot from corporate South Africa to actually learn.
Well, thank you very much for that discussion, Xolani. A very much needed one, and one that I hope will continue in various quarters until really that transformation does happen. That's Xolani Mbanjwa, our business editor.